Are Crypt Horrors any good in patch 5.3? Now, not that Crypt Horrors really changed like Crypt Ghouls did, but this is still a good moment to review where they stand in the roster, especially since I'm covering boosts a lot these days. Let's look at the ins and outs of these beefy monstrosities. Recruited for 800 dark magic and 200 upkeep. Nice, even numbers. This gets us 16 entities on Ultra with a beefy 9,952 health unit-wide. Even though Crypt Ghouls got a bit hardier, they're still a significant step down on the health front. Armor is 30, or rather it was always 30. No changes here. Leadership starts at 50, which is mediocre even considering the faction. Speed of 50 is accompanied by charge speed 70, and I noted for Karn Wraiths their charge speed is only 52. So this is a much more violent approach. Melee attack starts at 39, and like the ghouls, horrors inflict poison with each melee strike. Attack interval 4.2 is nothing special to cry about, and CA tweaks things with animation length in mind at least. We finally have splash damage again with a target size of medium and a maximum target damage of 4. 4 is up there with normal Croxigors. It's better than Ogres. Melee defense 28 is pretty down the middle for strong, strapping, monstrous infantry. Weapon strength 70 is interesting. A lot of other units like Graveguard, Black Knights, Crypt Ghouls, they're doing weapon strength 40 with a far higher number of entities, but not all of them are actually involved in the fight at one time, far from it. On the other hand, the Crypt Horrors have a damage split between base 18 and 52 armor piercing, so most of the damage they do will be felt no matter how armored the target. Charge bonus of 30 is decent enough without being special, and massive 1500 means they will barrel through your own lines to get to the enemy at bare minimum. The unit causes fear, is considered a siege attacker, can hide in forest, and the unit has old-fashioned regeneration, meaning it has old-fashioned 20% fire weakness. It's still something to keep in mind. In the redline skills, Creatures of the Night at 3 pips grants weapon strength plus 12% and charge bonus plus 12 flat, so charge bonus 42 at 3 pips. I'll note in passing that this skill is shared with Vargeis, Varghouls, and Terrorgeis rather than other units. At rank 7, Deadly Power will grant melee attack plus 5, weapon strength plus 12%, and 10% physical resistance, all very welcome. In the tech tree, Incantations of Usharan offers upkeep minus 10% and recruitment and raise dead cost minus 20%. I typoed that last time, I'll keep trying to do better. Strigoi Legacy offers speed plus 5% and weapon strength plus 10%, and Cannibalistic Rituals as plus 50% battle healing cap, and the Hunger in melee. And yes, I've been advised the wiki description has something which is obsolete, so I'm using an in-game screenshot. Total War stats didn't have enough info to be helpful, that's why I was scrambling for better. So anyway, how do we use Crypt Horrors? This is the important part. Why go through all these boosts? Because there's only one place that received melee attack, and sure, the physical resistance helps against many foes, and the Hunger gives you a second source of self-healing. But what stands out is 3 sources of weapon strength buffing for a total of 34%. It's like they're keeping it restrained for multiplayer, but we're fine with people going nuts in campaign. Anyway, they're bullies. They're here to punch down and laugh in your face while taking your lunch money. They're not here to play nice. They don't care about your fancy armor. It's all about beating you to a pulp. They're aggressive, fast, and meaty. But ultimately it comes down to having a generally good and offense-oriented stat line. Then they fight until they crumble or the opponent flees or crumbles, at which point they can use a pretty decent charge bonus to smash into something else. It's only been a week since Graveguard with Halberds became a thing in this game. Being large entities, let alone the 1500 mass, enemy chariots and cavalry cannot simply run them over. They're not anti-large per se, but anti-armor gets you a long way against a ton of targets. Anything that they can catch, they can hurt. Anything they can hurt, they can kill. Potentially. But that's where the concerns come up. You only have so much medical support to go around. Sure, a Danse Macabre can make their job easier, but is that the best use of your wins? Does something else need it more? Yes, corpse carts and so on can help you out, but Crypt Horrors have the speed to wind up in unusual positions out of reach of the carts. What then? I think the best compromise is to use horrors to hit backs when possible, but to use them in conjunction with other units, either in Hammer and Anvil tactics, or working hand in Ghostly Fist with heroes, even if they're not using magic or you don't have the wins available for whatever reason. It's almost impossible to play vampire counts and not use heroes, so you should have one around. So whatever is your specific flavor, try to make it work. A hero can tank significant amounts of damage for the unit, and horrors can't do their max damage if they're losing entities. In other words, it's not just an upsized unit of Crypt Ghouls. It's used in largely the same way, but faster, armor-piercing, and tougher. That makes it a lot more resistant to many magical attacks. It's still a high priority target for ranged foes because a lot of other damage dealers will be worse targets. Otherwise, it's like my old Gore Horde example. All the fun happens when you're actually in melee. Get in there and smack stuff around. That's what the unit is meant for. The rest is just maximizing the results. If you have the luxury, absolutely abuse magic because the passive boosts aren't really enough. Having said that, if corpse cards actually do catch up to the fight, flaming magical crypt horror blunt instrument attacks can be nice, and the vigor replenishment is a big deal for them. The bigger point is that they're worth the trouble. If you're going Strigoi Bloodline and guaranteeing their availability, make the most of them. Just to note, in my later demo combats I have them facing Lizardmen Saurus Warriors 4 versus 6, and it's a very tough fight for them. This is for a reason. Besides middling armor, Saurus Warriors have high health and also hit hard. Their low-ish melee attack doesn't matter against Crypt Horrors because Crypt Horrors are not defensive enough to take it, and without magical support the healing can't cope. I try them with Skeleton Warrior Chaff, and that does help. It's not a perfect solution. They're tougher than the Crypt Ghoul units, but in the end, offense is their defense. One final point, they're only quote-unquote 800 dark magic and 200 upkeep default. A lot of the infantry we've covered are actually more expensive. They bring something for that, but it's an interesting angle. If nothing else, they're serious on the armor-piercing front when a lot of the roster isn't. Take care and have fun horrifying your opponents with all that armor-piercing damage, and regenerating mid-battle. That's always horrifying when you're trying to fight them.